Hello and welcome to Cupcake Addiction's Dinosaur Cupcake tutorial, where I'll be showing you how to make these gorgeous little Stegosaurus dinosaur cupcake toppers, perfect for your next dinosaur event. For those of you that follow my channel, you'll know that my son recently turned 2. Oliver had his party over the weekend and we did a dinosaur themed event. If you want to see the photos of that event, I will post those on the Cupcake Addiction Facebook page, and I'll leave a link to our Facebook page in the description box below if you want to see all of the different components that we used for our dinosaur party. These Stegosaurus cupcakes are just one of them. So tools and equipment that I will be using today, I've got a regular pair of scissors. Now I've also got, and these are an optional extra, a pair of these sewing scissors which give you like a serrated edge cut. So you can see that they've almost got like little teeth on them. I'm going to use those because they're a bit easier and a bit more time efficient, but you can also just use regular scissors for this. I've got my cupcake. Now I've got mine in a really cute little printable cupcake wrapper. These are a free printable that another website actually posted, and I used all of their free printables for my son's dinosaur party, so I'll leave a link to those in the description box below. I've got some of our perfectly pipeable buttercream frosting that I've tinted green today. I'll leave a link to that frosting in the description box below. I've got a paintbrush. I've got a rainbow sour strap. It doesn't have to be rainbow, but I'm just using rainbow today because I liked the different coloured look in the Stegosaurus spikes. A little bit of water, a Ziploc bag. I've got an edible marker. Now these are just edible pens and they're sold widely in a lot of different cake decorating shops. And I've got a little bit of either fondant or modelling chocolate. So let's get started. Now I'm using a caramel cupcake, and I've actually cored that out and put a little bit of caramel ganache in the middle. That's just the flavour that I'm using for Oliver's party. The first thing that we want to do is take your little bit of either fondant or modelling chocolate, whichever is fine, and we've got a great modelling chocolate recipe on our channel. And I'm just going to tear off just 4 really small little, they're going to be little balls. These are just going to make up the feet. This is a really simple little tutorial. So you just want them there. You can see they're really small little balls, about half the size of a pea, very small. Now taking your main ball, just give it a roll in the palm of your hands there. And what I want to do is I want to sort of shape it into a bit of a cone. So I'm going to just rock it in the palms of my hands, and you can see there that my palms are together in a V, and it's actually making a nice little teardrop type shape. That's going to be his little tail. And then I'm just going to use my fingers just to pinch that head. So I'm really just pinching the front of it down, and I'm going to use just a finger there just to sort of give him a little bit of a neck. Doesn't look very Stegosaurus-like yet, but he will. So just flatten out that back, that little ridge on the back there. And there you've got your little, I guess your little head shape. For the tail, I like to just pinch it so it's nice and pointy and then kink it up at the back. So I've really just pulled it up, and that will actually sit up. Don't worry too much about any more detail than that. That's the basic shape of our Stegosaurus body. So you can see there what he looks like from the side view and from the top view. Pop him down. Now you want to take your sour strap, and you can use either colour you like. If you were going to do another sort of a dinosaur, you can use the reds, the yellows. You can do these in all different colours. So I want to show you, this is just another way that you can use other equipment to make your life easier as a cake decorator. So I'm going to go halfway down that rainbow strip with my scissors, I think my mum used to call them pinking shears. I don't know if that's still what they're referred to. You can see there as I cut down, you get a really nice little serrated effect. If you're not going to use those, if you don't have any, and they're not very expensive, you can get them at sewing shops. You just want to take your scissors, cut straight down the middle, and you just want to take little nicks out, like so, to give you that spiky effect. But you can see there how much longer that's going to take you, especially if you've got quite a few of these to do. It's going to take you quite a bit longer. You do get a bit more of a defined spike, so it is, I think, a little bit of a better look, but it depends. I made about 30 of these, so I was definitely grateful for my pinking shears. So either that end or that end, depending on which method you're using. I'm going to stick with this one. So take your scissors and just trim it off. You're going to get 3 or 4 steggies out of each of these sour straps if you just use one size. I just want to hold it up to the side of my steggy there. So you can see what I'm doing there at home. That's a perfect size. So you can see there it goes just from his tail to sort of, I guess, the back of his neck there. So what you want to do is take your scissors again, and we want to just create a little hump area for his humpy back to go in. So just cut out sort of a half moon shape. And then I like to just trim down each edge so that they don't go straight up. It just makes them look a little bit more like they flow better with the little fondant figurine. Lots of offcuts here for the kids to eat. All right, now you want to take the back of your paintbrush and just make yourself just a little bit of an indent just across his back there. You can also use a knife for this, and it's really just somewhere that's just going to sort of support where that spike's going to go, or those spikes are going to go. Tiny, tiny little bit of water. Less is more with your water, so definitely don't use too much. And just lightly dampen that area. And sit your sour strap in. When you sit that sour strap in, just push it down ever so slightly, and that water is actually going to glue that in place. Now I like to just give him a little bit of a thin out in the middle, because as I've pushed that in, I've actually squished him down a little bit. And then we're going to add in those little feet. So for the little feet, we're just going to do a couple of tiny little dobs of water. You can see there I've got 2 slightly smaller balls there and 2 slightly larger. So I'm going to use the slightly larger ones for the back feet, and I'm just going to pinch the top of that ball. And then I'm going to attach the flat side to the dinosaur and leave the fat rounded side as the bottom of the foot. So then take a smaller ball and do the front, and then we'll repeat that on the back of our dinosaur. All right, so that's our Steggy almost ready to go. We just want to give him a couple of eyes. So I'm using an edible marker. If you don't have an edible marker, you can also use just a little daub of food coloring or a little bit of melted chocolate. And I'm just giving him 2 little dots. So now he's been brought to life. There's your little Stegosaurus. Really quite easy, really effective. Now to attach him to the cupcake, I'm just going to take some of that frosting and pop it into a Ziploc bag. Beautiful. You can use a grass piping tip for this if you want the grass to be a little bit more realistic. Once again, depending on how much time you've got, I'm just going to use a Ziploc bag because I find this method faster and easier. And like I said, I did about 30 of these. So you just want to cut just a nice little fine tip off the end of that Ziploc bag. And take your cupcake in its really cute little cupcake wrapper. And I'm just going to, almost looks a bit like spaghetti. So come around, do a bit in the middle, and then come around the edges. Just make sure that you're going right out to the edges there. Try not to get it to touch too much on that cupcake wrapper, because the cupcake wrapper is going to be cardboard. I printed mine out on a 210 GSM card, so a little bit thicker than a normal paper, gives it a bit more stability. And you can see there, I'm just building that up so that it looks like a bit of a grass effect. This is great too. It looks like a lot of frosting and it's quite high, but you've got a lot of air in there, so it's actually not as much frosting as if you were to use, say, a star piping tip and do a big swirl. Take your Steggy and simply stick him on top. And as I said, he's going to sink down just a tiny bit there into that grass. So he's actually going to cover up quite a bit of those little feet. But there you've got your gorgeous little Stegosaurus cupcake ready to go for your next dinosaur event. If you love this tutorial, head over to our channel My Cupcake Addiction and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to be notified when we upload our 3 times weekly tutorials. And as always, thank you very much for watching.